After the full trouble.
Yeah.
She. Hi to she.
All right, I'll bring this meeting to order if I could. And I have the corporate officer has run off to run an errand for me, so I can't ask him if there's any late agenda items. Do you know of any CAO?
Yes, there may be one, Your Worship, which I'll add at the
Okay.
end. That's okay.
Okay, so it'll be in section, like at the end?
At the very
section-
end, yeah.
Yes, 14?
Sure.
14,
Oh, that's a big agenda.
yeah, we have a long agenda tonight, so 12.
Yeah.
12.3, okay.
12.3.
There'll be an additional item in 12.3. And,
Do we know what it is?
It's transfer
Thank you.
funds for the RFP for the egg food processing hub. Cover consultants.
put that here, or so we don't go by it. 12.3, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so someone like to move the agenda as amended. Councillor Van Elfen, Councillor Patton, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, next item is the adoption of the minutes. Are there any errors or omissions in the minutes from previous 4? Seeing none, can we have a motion to adopt the minutes? Councillor Carlson, Councillor Van Elfen, in favor? Thank you. Delegations, we have no delegations scheduled. This is our public comment opportunity. We have a maximum of 15 minutes for this section, and it's 2 minutes per speaker. There's a list on the board up there for the topics that can be spoken to. I remind the audience that if you want to speak concerning the variances that are on the agenda tonight, then your opportunity will come at that time, not during this section. If you have anything you'd like to comment on those items, please come to the podium now and give us your name and address.
Sure. I can't hear in the back.
Oh, I'll move this a little closer, but that's the end of the rope.
Speak up.
I started with Madam Mayor, but I'm going to have to change it.
Your name and address, please. Yeah.
Yes, Juno Beggs, 9923 Canyon View Road, Summerland.
Thank you.
This is with reference to item 1110. A motion from Councillor Aaron Carlson on the property at 9918 Canyon View Road, and the legitimacy of its usages for farm purposes within the ALR guidelines. I stand here once again re-quoting the same items that I had presented to the previous council, of which most are present. This owner has aggressively flaunted the ALR guidelines from the initial purchase of the property. The neighborhood has written many letters to council, and tonight we have 16 members of our neighborhood city spoken with the previous CAO, and the bylaw officers continuously to no avail. Variances are granted after the fact, including a new enormous structure to house heavy-duty machinery, including large capacity diggers, road rollers, graders, dump trucks, and more, which go off the property when needed elsewhere on large flat deck trailers. Over the last 3 years, enormous piles of dirt, at least 50 truckloads, have been dumped onto the property, then screened, causing huge sandstorms and dust storms and filth over the neighborhood. Only a few piles are used this spring to plant some fence bordering trees. Families that do not work on the farm living in travel trailers and Class A motorhomes, and also above the barn. The main house sits unfinished after 4 years and is used in the winter to store bales of hay. There are numerous animals living in the barn with no graze or outdoor space, ranging from donkeys to pigs and chickens. The steers are sequestered in a small corner of the 7 acres with no permanent shelter or shade, and sometimes left unfed. Another massive structure went up this year by the roadway with at least 6 massive doors, while another farm building sits, a huge one, unfinished further on the property. A portable sawmill has been in use on the property, with the logs being sourced from off the property, trucked in and milled, and being trucked away. Large 8x8 10-foot log beams, not being used anyway on the farm or for the farm. The city needs to do their due diligence before handing out variances and understand the importance of protecting our farmland. This is
Okay.
ALR.
Thank you, Judy. We have 2 minutes
Okay.
is up. If
Thank you
anybody
for your
else
time.
would like to speak? You come to the podium and you have your 2 minutes. State your name and address. Oh, okay. I saw the first
My
one.
name is Rob Milanovic, one of the residents at 9918 Canyon View Road. Once again, I'm here in front of council. Many of you are from the previous council, and I'm here to comment on what this lady has said, which is mostly unfactual. Everything that we have on the property has a permit. The only thing that required a variance was for our greenhouse. Our greenhouse, we were given permission by the building inspector of the day to build it without a permit. And then when he realized that it was over and above what he thought it would be, it was to the scale of the drawing that we submitted, he asked us if we would apply for a variance because the setback was 50 feet instead of 100 feet. And council had granted us that permission for that greenhouse. So we have no other variances on this property other than the greenhouse, which we were given permission to start. We started and we stopped when that building inspector, which is no longer here, asked us to apply for a variance. As far as all of the ALR rules and regulations, we've had the compliance officer, Dave Birchmore, on our property probably 10 times in the last 12 months. He is attending, again, on Wednesday at noon with Vern, your building inspector for the city. I invited Vern today when I found out Dave Birchmore would be on the property. And he is there to tell us what we can and can't do on our property. Again, this is his 10th visit in the last year for us. So we are in total compliance with ALR. Everything that the city has required of us and has asked of us, whether we agree or did not agree, we have done. And we don't understand why we wouldn't even be invited to this if we're going to pass a motion tonight to discuss us. Nobody even called us. Nobody even told us. I heard this through the grapevine. Pretty disappointed about it. We brought our family members with all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Milanovic. We have to respect the limits. Is there another speaker? Yes?
Hello, my name is Dennis Sokol. I live at 203 Magic Drive in Kelowna. And I'm here to discuss the variance permit application.
Oh, excuse me, the variance permits, we will discuss during that particular section. You'll have an opportunity at that time. Thanks. Is anyone else? Oh.
Good evening, Acting Mayor and City Council. My name is Leah Walker, and I am at 19609 Matsu Drive, Article 11.8. I'd like to discuss the proposed road closure, and I'd like to introduce my mother, Bernice Walker, who's a co-owner of the property. We are asking you to please approve the road closure for some very distinct and important reasons that we'd like to address here tonight. Of all the properties that interface with the right-of-way, ours is the only one that relies solely on this area to enter and exit our property. Between Matsu Drive and our driveway, there doesn't seem to be a very distinct differentiation to what continues on as Matsu Drive. So many people head down our entrance towards our home. This leads to many vehicles being forced to drive down the roadway and then turn around when they realize they're on a private drive. Security is a very troubling issue for us as people drive down off Matsu on the city roadway and park down the driveway area without authorization. We have had to chase them off the property numerous times. I know this was an ongoing issue for the previous owners as they had also stated that to us when they bought them. 95% of the time, it is just my mother and I here, and this is very unsettling for us and it makes us extremely nervous. We would feel much more at peace if we could have a secure gate at the top of the hill adjoining Matsu, which would eliminate a hidden area for these people to congregate. Safety is our other major concern. This road grade on the right-of-way was very steep when we first bought the property, and it proved to be very challenging in our first winter here. We have since paid to improve that grade to an incline a little less susceptible to sliding. However, it is still inevitable that there will be a road incline right at the current entrance to our property. Again, for myself, my mother, and any other visitors we have, it would make us feel so much more at ease if the gate was at the top of Matsu where there is no incline and there would be no fear of sliding into the gate of the current property entrance in the winter months. We want to have a positive relationship with all of our neighbors as well. This is why we came up with a proposal that offers the neighbors the opportunity to purchase the portion of the city right away that they are currently using. We have offered to provide landscaping that benefits both properties with a visually pleasing and privacy-providing boundary at our expense. We promise to continue to work also with the neighbors going forward during this review. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have two. It's a race for the podium.
Thank you, Acting Mayor and Council. I'd also like to speak, my name is George Giannotti. I'm with Okanagan Development Consultants. I'm acting as agents for the Walkers. I just want to speak on the technical issues of this driveway. The existing grade before any of the work was done was at close to 20%. Their intent is to develop the property into a workable vineyard, which they've done extensive remodeling already, and also to create a winery and a future home on the site. The current driveway bylaws are at 12% in order for us to get access with the fire department vehicle. So that's why from 20% to 12%, we've had to do some major grading. In doing that, the city has also recommended that we close the road in order to compensate for the earthworks on the site. The other issue is not just the bylaws, the insurance coverage on buildings. If access for firefighting becomes an issue, or the insurance companies tend to also shy away from providing any coverage. That's basically it in a nutshell as far as the technical aspects.
Thank you, Mr. Giannotti.
Hi, Janine Nova, 19560 Matsu Drive. I'm also speaking to 11A closure and disposal of Slater Road. Initially, we were opposed to the closure and disposal of Slater Road. However, through meetings with George Giannotti, who represents the adjacent landowners, we feel it may be possible to work out a proposal that would meet all parties' concerns. We've been assured by George that the secondary driveway will be constructed at no cost to us, so we will still be able to access the lower portion of our land. Also, we have been assured that we will have the opportunity to purchase the full width of Slater Road that flanks the most northern edge of our property. Based on the recent assurances from George, we are willing to support the idea of the closure and disposal of Slater Road, but the details still need to be worked out, agreed upon, and more information is required for us to make a final decision.
Thank you. Does anyone else? I see. Yes.
I'd like to speak on the property on Canyon View Road. The council, if they're going to have some people investigating it, I think it would be fair that if they contact all the landowners up there that are affected. So far, that hasn't been done. We wrote these letters, nobody's ever contacted us on one occasion. And you know, the mayor had the letters, all the councilors had the letters, Dave Birchmore had the letters. It was all over, and not one person contacted a soul up there that was affected. You know, if they could contact us, at least we could express our concerns. Maybe something in the middle ground can be reached. But as far as the sawmill goes, the way I read the bylaws, there's no way it meets criteria with 50% of the trees coming off the property. I have no idea how that got passed. Anyway, they should contact each landowner up there that's affected.
Thank you.
Have your name?
Oh, sorry. Did you give us your name? Excuse me. Did your name and address, please?
Pardon me?
Your name and address, please.
Dale Jenner.
Dale Jenner.
9939 Canyon View Road, right across the street.
Thank you.
My name is Leona Kozlowski, and I live at 9931 Canyon View Road. I feel I must speak also about the notice of motion of 991 Canyon View Road. I'm sorry, I'm not used to speaking in public, so this will be difficult for myself. I've written it down. I have lived on agricultural land most of my life, which was a great opportunity and privilege that most will never have. Throughout my years of experience, I've learned that this privilege is also one that comes with a great responsibility. The stewardship of land and animals in ways that exhibit both deep care and nurturing. It is a commitment that should be taken with pride, as well as a deep ethic of caring for life on Earth. I have lived here in Summerland for nearly a year now. As a neighbor, I have witnessed animals at 9918 Canyon View Road stand unsheltered in scorching heat, pouring rain, and through cold winter nights. There is no shade or structure to protect against the elements. Their pasture is devoid of any grass. And on a number of occasions, we have felt a deep concern for their well-being, as was evidenced even last week when the temperatures were nearing 40. Recently, I did have a conversation with the owners of 9918 Canyon View Road regarding their intentions for their agricultural land. While they have plans of what they wish to accomplish, a certain expediency must be employed to ensure the welfare of their livestock. I hope that we can, as a neighborhood and as neighbors, have discussions that will prompt concrete steps that will quickly resolve towards an ethical management of this agricultural land. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any further speakers tonight? And someone who's shy? Okay, then we'll conclude that section of the agenda and move on to the mayor's report. And Mayor Boot has kindly written a report and left for me, and so this is her speaking and not myself. So please join me in congratulating Tiana Ferlazzi and Jessica O'Gorman, two 2019 SSS graduates who each received a Sharon Amos Legacy Fund for the Arts Bursary. These awards go to students who are pursuing post-secondary education in the arts. Tiana and Jessica also represented Summerland as the princesses in the 2018/19. Congratulations, ladies. Saturday, July 27th, I, being Tony, opened the Summerland Horseshoe Tournament at Memorial Park. The tournament, hosted by the Summerland Horseshoe Club for the 63rd time, saw participants from throughout the valley and one from Washington State. Her thanks to Bill and Pat for giving her lessons earlier in the week to save her the embarrassment of not getting the shoes in the pit. It worked. Later that day, Ranger, her dog, and her attended the opening of the pet barn, cutting an enormous cake to celebrate the occasion. The Summerland Community Arts Council is just over halfway through their Music in the Park concert series for this year. Bring a chair and a friend or two to enjoy free music every Wednesday evening throughout the summer. And if please tell me if you can't hear me. If you can't hear me, give me a nod in the back. You can hear me? Okay, great. Thursday, August 8th, Tony attended the Summerland Healthy Community Initiative monthly meeting. Two community events tentatively scheduled for October and November will continue the spring 2019 health series. The first is on vaping awareness, the second on radon awareness. Dates and other details will be announced when confirmed. On Friday, Tony attended the Harry McWaters Celebration of Life in Penticton. Mr. McWaters was a driving force in the British Columbia and Canadian wine industry for more than 50 years, and he was known as the grandfather of the British Columbia wine industry. In 1980, he founded Summerland Sumac Ridge Winery, the first estate winery in British Columbia, and at the time of his passing was the founder and CEO of Encore Vineyards and Evolve Cellars in Summerland and Time Winery and Kitchen in Penticton. On behalf of council and district staff, my thanks again to Ron Matusi, who very capably filled the role of interim CAO since early May. It has been a pleasure to work with you, Ron, and we wish you all the best in your next appointment, wherever that might be. Tony is currently in Sapporo, Japan, and will be there for several days before traveling with the Summerland royalty and others to our sister city in Toyokoro. Okay.
Did she make it?
Yeah. She made it? She did. Yeah, she did. I Jeremy.
Do we have any business from the community?
We do. Skipping over number 8.
Oh, yeah, CEO's report. Sorry.
It's going to be a verbal, Your Worship. I'm still
Still here, yes.
I'm not given reports every meeting, so I could see why the acting mayor would not think I've had one, but I do. We just wanted to welcome, I'm not sure, there's a gap between council meetings, but to welcome Sergeant David Preston to our community. And for those over 60, he knows that there was another Sergeant Preston. I got reminded of it every day, I think, for the first week. We also like to report that Giant Head Mountains Trail Redevelopment Project, the majority of the trail work has been completed, and they're aiming to have the retaining wall and parking lot completed by mid-August, as well as the road pullouts. Signage was not part of the original scope. It'll be completed in fall. Contractor's been secured to complete the pickleball, tennis, dog in parks project in September. And the proposals for the Aquatic Fitness Center hazardous materials survey, not the building itself, hazardous materials survey and air quality is currently being evaluated. I'd also, on Tammy's behalf, like to remind everyone that the district's revised distributed generation net metering program has been relaunched with all the documents available at summerland.ca. Net metering, a free relaunch event is taking place on August 27th from 3 to 6 at the Arena Banquet Room, where residents can meet installers, ask questions, and learn more about the benefits of solar for their property. And finally, the district, with the hard work of staff, has secured a donation for an additional 17 beverage container recycle bins for our community, a value of $12,000, thanks to Return It program for their ongoing support in the community. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Matusi. I'm sorry I overlooked you.
No, no problem.
Okay, so now business is arising from the Committee of the Whole and closed sessions. Do we have any recommendations and resolutions to bring forward?
Yes, there's a number here. So the first three resolutions, well, the recommendations from Committee of the Whole, that could be turned into resolutions at Council's vote, are in relation to the Kettle Valley Railway Society, which gave a brief presentation at today's Committee of the Whole. And here they are presented one slide at a time.
Should we adopt these one at a time, or can we do all three at once?
Oh, you can do all three at once if you'd like.
I guess there's separate subjects. Let's do them.
Some of them are pretty hefty.
Yeah, we have a motion. Councillor Holmes, Councillor Van Alphen. In favor? Carried. Next one. So I'll give everybody a moment to read what we intend to be doing. It's not terribly controversial. And do we have a motion? Councillor Patton, Councillor Holmes? All in favor? Carried. And number 3. I think it's rather self-explanatory for the audience, so they can be informed. Do we have?
Can I?
Yes.
It may seem self-explanatory. I'd just like to briefly
Elaborate.
Yes. There is a trestle fund, and to simplify the matter, it's been suggested that a grant and aid would be a better way to move that money to the KVR Society. So the intent will be to support the society with that amount of money through a grant and aid process.
And it was done to do it a little bit sooner than it would otherwise for next year.
Yes.
Right.
I'll move the motion as
Thank
presented.
you, Councillor Carlson, Councillor Patton. All in favor? Carried.
One more, and this one is in regards to the Zero Emission Vehicle Infrastructure Program. It's to get staff working towards the options that may be considered towards the funding program. Basically to do a bunch of research and bring it back to council.
Councillor, do you have a comment?
No, I was just going to move it.
And Councillor Traynor? I think it's worth noting that this is about getting lots of charging stations, quite a number of charging stations where we would only pay, was it 50% of the Class 2 and 25% of the Class 3 stations?
She's nodding.
Yes, that's correct. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong person, aren't I? It was all afternoon with Tammy. Okay, so that's what that's about. All in favor? Carried. That's it?
That's it.
Okay, bylaws. This would go to corporate officer?
Development services.
Oh, okay, zoning bylaw, I'm sorry, yes. All about zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of zoning bylaw amendment Z19-004 is to facilitate a three-lot subdivision at 5010 Croyle Avenue. All lots that are proposed meet the minimum lot area. Lot 3 is shown as 442 square meters. However, the zoning bylaw allows for a minimum lot area to be calculated prior to road dedication, which has this lot at 471 square meters, the minimum size being 460. All lots provide for a minimum of 100 square meters of buildable area. As for the requirements of subdivision, the major ones are that approximately 2 meters of road dedication will be required fronting Croyle Avenue, and that a water main replacement to bring the hydrants that service these lots up to the required fire flow will be required. Currently, the fire flow is 42 liters per second, and 60 liters per second is the new minimum required flow for residential lots. Water modeling will be required to determine what size of line will be required to provide adequate flows. The applicants have been made aware of these requirements and have agreed to proceed with the rezone. Staff are recommending 2 site-specific provisions over 2 of the proposed lots. On proposed lot 2, there's a proposed provision to permit the existing deck to remain within 4.63 meters of the rear yard. Generally, a projection such as a deck would be allowed to go 2 meters into a required rear yard. So the increase would be 0.9 meters, that it would exceed the allotted projection. On the proposed Lot 3, the site-specific provision is to reduce the 4.5 meter exterior side yard setback, which is required over any road that is not the fronting road. The road dedication in this instance is a 4.5 meter wide unconstructed dedication, and staff have not found any indication that there's ever going to be any construction of this road, nor is there any services currently under the dedication. Staff recommend that council give first and second reading to bylaw 2019-026 and schedule a public hearing for September 9th, 2019.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Development Services regarding this matter? No questions at all? That must have been a very good report. Answered everything. Someone would like to move the bylaw as written? Or Councillor Van Alphen? So moved. Seconded? Councillor Traynor? Any discussion? Comments? I just would comment that the site-specific, not quite sure the word you would use, but variances, if you want to call it, seem to make, very good sense and shouldn't be controversial at all. All those in favor? Carried. Great. 10.2, oh, another Development Services. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An application has been made by the owners of 9902 Main Street, the old BMO building, to amend the text of the zoning bylaw to allow for single dwelling units to be permitted accessory use. Currently, the only form of dwelling unit permitted in the central business zone are apartment housing, which is defined in the zoning bylaw as 4 or more dwelling units. Obviously, there are a fair number of single dwelling units downtown, and it would be better for the owners of these buildings to have their dwelling units as a permitted use in the zone. The other portion of the zoning bylaw that is looking to be amended is to permit craft brewing and distilleries as a permitted use in the zone. In October 2018, this use was added as a site-specific provision to a portion of a building at 13220 Victoria Road North. Since that time, a brewery has been established, indicating that this is a compatible use in the commercial zone and should be permitted zone-wide. Staff are recommending that bylaw 2019-027 be read a first and second time, and that a public hearing be scheduled for September 9th, 2019.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Development Services regarding these changes? Once again, well, present. Oh,
Just to clarify, central business zone is in orange on the pictures?
That is correct.
And is that the only central business zone, or is it? is
The
there more?
CB1 zone is limited to the downtown
Just
area.
downtown. Okay, thank you. I will move the motion as presented, unless there are further questions.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Patton, any further questions of the staff or discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. Oh, there is Mr. Patton. Yes, sorry, Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Your Worship.
You know,
Just a comment. I think the change in this bylaw to allow a single use for a residential purpose is a great move for our downtown core, and really glad to see the forward thinking which we did to move this forward. Thank you so much.
I thought you were going to be encouraging about the number of possible craft breweries in the downtown.
It's in the bylaw.
All right. Any further discussion or comments? All in favor? Carried. 10.3, council procedure amendment. This is just a bylaw to be adopted.
There's nothing to say unless there's questions.
We've been through this before. Councillor Holmes
Move it to be adopted.
and Councillor Patton, the seconder. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. 10.4, financial plan. I don't see our chief financial officer here.
It's just for adoption.
It's for adoption, okay, pretty straightforward, no questions by now, I should hope. And Councillor Carlson?
I'll move that the motion be adopted.
And seconded, Councillor Patton. Any discussion, questions? Nobody? All in favor? Carried. 11.1, business items, development variance permit. This sounds like something from Development Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An application has been made to vary the side yard setback at 137 Sumac Ridge Drive from 3 meters to 1.5 meters to facilitate a residential addition. In the RSD3 zone, a property owner is required to maintain a 3-meter side yard setback on one side and a 1.5-meter side yard setback on the other. This is a little different from the other residential zones where a 3-meter side yard setback is only required where the primary dwelling does not include an attached garage or carport. The approximate area of variance is shown on the screens. This is approximately what the footprint would look like in relation to the adjacent property. And this is the elevation drawing. The portion on the right is the new proposed addition, which contains a master bedroom and an office space. Staff recommends that DVP 19-011 be approved.
Any questions for the planning department? Councillor, you're right. Before we go to questions, we have an opportunity for public comment. And the first person, the first opportunity to speak is the proponent. Is there the proponent here who wishes to add anything, or a representative for the proponent? Seeing none, I'll go on to members of council who might have some questions. No, that wasn't, your hand was only going to move your glasses, not to raise a question. Okay.
No question.
No question. Okay, you're not seeing any questions. Would someone like to put the motion on the floor? Councillor Van Alphen?
As written.
As written. Councillor Carlson, seconded. Any discussion? Any questions come to mind in the 30 seconds between? No? Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, development variance permit number 19-12.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This next application is for the property located at 12914 Prairie Valley Road. This property has a fairly long and complicated history, so I'll try to keep this fairly simple. There are 2 variances proposed with respect to this application, and they are the elimination of the requirement for the agricultural buffer along the abutting property lines between the 2 portions of property, as well as elimination of the required fence. It's a 1.2 meter fences, 1.8 meter tall fence required along the agricultural buffer. The purpose of the buffer is to separate properties within the agricultural land reserve from other zoned properties. And we have an adjacent country residential property adjacent to this one. However, all of the property abutting those two property lines is within very, very steep slope and within agricultural, or within an environmentally sensitive area, so staff support that variance. The second variance proposed is the elimination of works and services as required and triggered at as part of the subdivision process. Thanks. The subject property you see before you is made up of two parcels. One parcel on the left-hand side is within the country residential zone, and on the right-hand side is within the, which one is it? This one? Which one? Okay. Sorry, I'll go back. The right-hand side is currently a vineyard, and that property is in the ALR. This property was subject to an agricultural land reserve application to remove the left-hand portion of the property from the ALR in 2016, and that was successful. Subsequent to that application, the applicant applied to rezone this portion of the property. You can see I'm highlighting on the screen to Country Residential 1, and council supported that rezoning application. Moving on to a subdivision application, a subdivision application was made in 2017, and it was sometime before the application received preliminary layout approval, and that was granted on October the 10th, 2018. Now, as part of all subdivision applications, it triggers works and services. And works and services is the frontage works bound by the property lines up to and including the center line of the street. And in this particular case, the bylaw requirement is to construct this road to our arterial standard as required by the subdivision and development services bylaw. You can see here, this is a slope analysis showing the steep topography of the property. On the right-hand side, you can see this sort of patchwork of terraces, and this portion is the agricultural land reserve portion. On the left-hand side is the country residential portion, and you can see at the very bottom is the yellow area, and that is the only area of the parcel, with the exception of the top portion of the parcel, that has slopes less than 30% grade. Here you see the requirement for works and services as I've indicated by the yellow line. Now it's up to the center line and completely bound by the property lines for the entire frontage of the property. Moving forward, the Transportation Master Plan was adopted in 2007, and this road was identified as an arterial road. The arterial road is to be constructed within a 20-meter right-of-way, and the asphalt width has a maximum width of 15 meters. Now, that asphalt width includes 2 driving lanes and 2 parking lanes or lanes to be used for cycling use, in addition to a sidewalk on one side and a light standard. Now, when the plan was adopted in 2007, it seemed ambitious at that time to include Prairie Valley Road, or this section, to be constructed as an arterial standard, since we don't anticipate there being parking on both sides of the road. The discussion that we had with the applicant, who wanted to apply for a variance to reduce the required works and services, resulted in us taking a closer look at the required works and services. And we have 2 other roads that we anticipate as part of this master plan of reclassifying this road as a lesser standard than an arterial standard, possibly down to an 11-meter cross-section of asphalt, however, still within a 20-meter total dedicated width. Because that gives us the opportunity in the future to construct the road 30, 40, 50 years into the future, we'll still have that dedicated full width of road to be able to construct at a standard that will be appropriate at that time. So the 11-meter asphalt standard is the same as the standard that we have for a rural road. It's 11 meters of asphalt and includes 2 travel lanes and 2 1.8-meter cycling lanes. Now, a cycling lane is required as identified in the cycling master plan, and this portion of Prairie Valley Road has the highest traffic counts, I guess, of cycling traffic in Summerland. So it's a very important cycling connection piece to get people from the downtown Morrow Road and continuing on up the valley. So the discussion with the applicant was that we would be willing to entertain a variance to the subdivision and development servicing bylaw from this standard, which is the arterial standard, down to a more realistic standard, which is essentially this rural road standard in terms of asphalt width for the 2 travel lanes and the cycling lanes, however, within a 20-meter dedication. So it's a significant reduction in the requirements, but at this time, Public Works and Engineering feels that that's an appropriate cross-section of width. The applicant is proposing to eliminate all requirements from all frontage works and services requirements from the proposed subdivision to allow them to create the CR1 parcel without any works and services improvements.
Thank you. At this point, would the applicant like to address council? You're the agent for the applicant?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Mayor, Council. I just want to go back a little bit.
Could you give us your name and who you represent?
My name is Brad Olenko, and I'm with McElhaney Limited, and I'm representing the owners, Tyler and Jordan Knight, and the little one that you hear in the back doing it.
Okay, thank you.
So thanks for the opportunity to address council this evening. I just wanted to back up a little bit and just summarize where we've been in this. In April of 2016, the previous owner submitted an application to the ALC to exclude the non-farm portion of the property from the ALR. Summerland Council supported the ALR exclusion, and in a decision letter dated August 29, 2016, by the ALC, they approved the exclusion of 2.2 hectares of land from the ALR. A condition of that exclusion was that the 2.2 hectare farm parcel be subdivided from the parent 3.7 hectare property. Shortly thereafter, the property was sold, and the current owners who acquired the property for its farm value proceeded to make improvements to the farm as it had not been maintained for a number of years. The owners immediately proceeded to start the process of subdivision, which required rezoning to make the proposed non-farm parcel comply with the zoning bylaw minimum parcel size requirements. On May 14th of 2017, Council amended the zoning of the non-farm parcel to country residential. Immediately following the adoption of the rezoning, a subdivision application was submitted to try to complete a subdivision that is required by the ALC to allow the completion of the exclusion application. At this time, I'd just like to thank staff for their support of a portion of the DBP that requires a variance to the landscape buffer requirements. I won't speak to that matter, and Mr. Patty has explained that one quite well. In terms of the portion of the DBP requesting a variance to the off-site road improvement requirements, I'd like to provide council with some comments and some information. And this is where, Your Worship, I'm going to refer to the 3 drawings that I provided in the bottom right-hand corner. One is called SK1, which is sketch 1. There's the second one is what's referred to as illustration 2. Images of the road, and illustration 3. At the present time, section 3.14 of the District Subdivision Development Servicing Bylaw contains a condition for the exemptions from construction and installation of offsite works and services. Section 3.14 provides a number of conditions or tests that must be met, and the owner's proposal to create only one additional residential lot meets most of the exemption requirements, but not all of them. If the property was zoned for residential, single detached, residential manufactured home, or residential duplex, and the frontage abutting the subdivision was less than 70 meters, an exemption would apply. point here is that the district does have an exemption provision, but the proposed one-lot subdivision just doesn't quite meet all of the exemption requirements. So it's not that the exemptions don't exist. The subdivision just falls short of meeting a few tests to allow the exemption. An underlying principle for the provincial and local government's legislation that allows certain off-site works and services at the subdivision stage is that new subdivisions ought to not place a burden on the infrastructure that taxpayers will have to fix or repair in the future. It's an attempt to instill fairness into public infrastructure financing, whereby new development pays their fair share for required infrastructure to support the new development. In this situation, where the home and vineyard owners intend to create only one additional lot, there is certainly not going to be any appreciable increase in the use of the road as a result of the additional one lot. As such, it certainly appears that the spirit of the legislation, fairness and equity in infrastructure financing, would not be embedded in a decision to require the owner to pay a significant amount of money for infrastructure that certainly appears to be more of a public benefit, rather than upgrade due to increased use of the road by occupants of one additional dwelling. Prairie Valley Road is used by the entire community for numerous reasons, and it seems hardly fair or equitable that only people such as the owners of the subject property adjacent to the road have to pay for road improvements to accommodate the increased use of the road by the entire community. Notwithstanding that the district subdivision development servicing bylaw allows the district to require off-site road improvements, discretion in the exercise of the district's requirement should be applied to ensure that principles of fairness and equity are embedded in the decision-making. In considering this variance request, council needs to be aware that the cost of making the vineyard owners provide Prairie Valley Road improvements that will be much more of a public benefit than a benefit to owners will be too great for the development to support, and the subdivision simply will not occur. Looking at the big picture, the requirement to have the vineyard owners construct half of Prairie Valley Road simply makes no engineering or practical sense. Prairie Valley Road was constructed over 50 years ago. The asphalt surface of the road wanders throughout the road right-of-way from side to side, and there was likely little thought given to storm management. The district does not have an overall design for the plan and profile of the road, and no real design for stormwater drainage from the road surface. As far as I'm aware, the district has, all the district has for design for Prairie Valley Road is a cross-section which indicates what they want the road to look like. The district is asking the vineyard owners, as part of the one-lot subdivision, to hire and pay an engineer to provide an engineered road design for half the road, including storm drainage. The district is asking this for a 500-meter section of road to be designed in isolation of the rest of Prairie Valley Road, and without any consideration of the bigger picture of how the road should ultimately be designed, including horizontal and vertical curves. Prairie Valley Road isn't a minor road, but rather a very important road that warrants a proper design for its entirety that considers road grades, cross-sections, storm drainage for the entire road. The district's request to require the vineyard owner to construct half of the road over the length of 500 meters without any consideration or adherence to an overall proper engineered road design is simply poor planning and engineering. Imagine what Prairie Valley Road will look like if the entire road is constructed in this fragmented and unplanned manner. The district needs to prepare a comprehensive road design for a large section of Prairie Valley Road that clearly shows the road's design, both vertical and horizontal curves, shows intersection tie-ins, and clearly shows how storm drainage throughout the entire road is managed. If this were in place, sections of the road could be constructed independently, and the eventual patchwork of constructed pieces of road would stitch together to create a road that has been constructed with a proper design. The proposed ad hoc requirements to construct small portions of the road without a design will certainly lead to a poor road design and ongoing road maintenance issues. Let me discuss briefly what's being requested in terms of road improvements and what the resulting construction will look like, with the assistance of a few images that I've provided. Looking at the specifics of constructing the undesigned road in front of the property, I'll try to explain how this requirement simply makes no sense. Drawing SK1 and illustration 3 shows how the asphalt road surface of Prairie Road adjacent to the subject property meanders from side to side and from one end of the property to the other. At the west side of the property, the asphalt surface of the road is almost entirely on the north side of the road right-of-way, while at the east end of the property, the asphalt surface is almost entirely on the south side of the road right-of-way. Drawing SK1 provides a cross-section of a road detail that the District of Summerland advised they would support. Using this cross-section, the center line of the right-of-way has been drawn on the plan, and the required road elements from the center line of the road have also been noted on the plan. Based on the plan, it's clear that very little, if any, improvements would be required on the south side of the property, while extensive off-site road improvements will be required on the south side of the property. Illustration 2 provides street view images of Prairie Valley Road looking both north and south in front of the east portion of the property. It's clear from the images that the edge of the paved road is within half a meter of the steep bank up. Based on the information provided on drawing SK1 and illustration 3, the road adjacent to the subject property between the two photos in illustration 1 would need to be widened between 4.5 and 5.5 meters to accommodate the required road improvements that staff have indicated they would support. This road construction will require the relocation of 2 electrical poles, the excavation into the bank by between 4.5 and 5.5 meters, the base and sub-base prepared, and the placement of approximately 500 square meters of asphalt. The construction will also require a retaining wall that will need to be constructed that will vary in height up to 4 meters. The widening of the road in this area will also require a large portion of the private parking area above the road on the private property to be removed during construction of the wall and then be rebuilt after the wall is constructed. The construction would also require the removal of the detached garage beside the house on the subject property, as the construction of the retaining wall will undermine that structure, so it will need to be removed. The requested road construction will cost in the order of $150,000 and will result in the appearance of a random pull-out on Prairie Valley Road for no apparent reason. Studies have shown that short-term changes in road standards lead to unsafe driver situations, and for that reason, many jurisdictions require big-picture thinking when looking at road design and construction improvements. In order for road improvements to occur that will make sense and be of future value to Prairie Valley Road network, the entire portion of Prairie Valley Road in and around the subject property needs to be properly designed by the district prior to ad hoc road improvements. The portion of Prairie Valley Road in the area of the subject property will be one of the most challenging portions of Prairie Valley Road to design, considering the cuts and fills required and a very inconsistent road right-of-way geometry. A final engineering design for Prairie Valley Road will, in all likelihood, require different horizontal and vertical curves than presently exist. So either the ad hoc patchwork of road upgrades presently requested will either result in poorly designed road, or the works completed now will have to be removed in the future to accommodate a new road that is properly designed, in which case the money spent now will be wasted. Planning staff has indicated if works and services are eliminated to facilitate the proposed subdivision, the reconstruction of this portion of Prairie Valley Road will be the responsibility of the district. The reality is, if the district requires the off-site works, the subdivision can't proceed, and the future construction of Prairie Valley Road will still be the responsibility of the district. In addition, the district will likely be required in the future to purchase or expropriate land from the subject property that is required for proper engineered road. Refusing the DDP will result in a subdivision not occurring, and no road improvements and no land dedication for future properly engineered road being acquired. Recognizing the negative impacts to all that will result from a refusal of the DDP, the property owner is proposing to provide some land dedication to reduce the future cost of the district of constructing the roads, and is prepared to provide a $15,000 cash contribution to the district to assist in offsetting future Prairie Valley Road design or construction costs. So in summary, what do we know? We know the district supported the ALR exclusion and the zoning of the property to accommodate the exclusion and the subdivision of the land. We know the proposed subdivision is required to galvanize the ALC approval for the exclusion of the non-farm land from the farmland. We know the property meets some of the requirements, but not all of the requirements for an exemption from the requirement to provide offsite works and services. We know that the proposed additional lot will not place a burden on Prairie Valley Road, and that the principles of fairness and equity in infrastructure financing would not be embedded in a decision to require the works and services being requested. We know that the cost of the required off-site works and services and utilities relocation will be in the order of $150,000. We know that the district does not have a comprehensive design for Prairie Valley Road. We know that the road construction now, without following a comprehensive design for Prairie Valley Road, will not be aligned with the future proper engineered road, and that the practice of ad hoc road construction in absence of a proper design will lead to poor final results. We know that if the district approves a variance, the district will at some time be required to improve the road in front of the homeowner's property. And we also know that if the district refuses the variance, the district will also be required at some point in time to improve the road in front of the homeowner's property, as a subdivision will not proceed. We know that if the district approves, the district will be able to secure road dedication for a future road, but a refusal of the variance will result in the district having to acquire or expropriate future road dedication. We know that the home and vineyard owner is prepared to provide the district with a cash contribution towards future Prairie Valley Road design or construction if the DVP for off-site improvements is approved. Mayor and Council, the home and vineyard owners are simply trying to finish an ALR exclusion process that the district supported a few years ago. I believe we've shown that the cost of the requested road improvements cannot be supported by the proposed one-lot subdivision, and a comprehensive design for Prairie Valley Road needs to be completed prior to commencing significant and costly road upgrades. The home and vineyard owners are asking that council approve. The DVP as refusal will not benefit anyone, and approval with conditions will benefit both the homeowner and the district. If council has any questions on this information, the images that I provided, I'd be more than happy to answer. And at this point, I believe the homeowner also would like to make some comments.
Before you leave the podium, Mr. Lenko, perhaps does council have any questions? Okay, thanks.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Tyler Knight, along with my wife Jordan and our son Finnegan. We're here to speak about our property at 12914 Prairie Valley Road. So Brad really covered most of it. We bought this property in 2017. It was an estate sale, private sale from the family. We had a dream to bring this old vineyard, planted in 1968, one of the oldest in Summerland, back into production. It had been sitting about 7 years. Totally abandoned, the house and the farmland. So yeah, basically the idea with buying the property was this subdivision had already gone through, had been taken out of the ALR. And the idea was to use the sale of that property to help bring the rest of it back to life. So Brad's kind of described everything that we've gone through to try and make that happen. He's described the cost that it's going to incur if the requirements continue. Basically, we've already spent about $40,000 on different development fees, getting all of the appropriate tests and things like that done for you guys. Basically, the sale price that we got from a realtor in town is about $175,000 to $195,000. So you can kind of see that, like Brad says, it just won't go ahead unless we're able to make a compromise here. I think the compromise we've put forward is quite fair. Like he says, it doesn't really do anyone good. If it doesn't go through, we basically won't be able to go through with it. There won't be the possible road improvement for you guys. What was it called? Road dedication. Yeah, so I think that what we proposed is quite fair, and thanks for your time.
Thank you. Well, you have another comment?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, the adjacent neighbor is also here, and I think he would like to make a few comments, if that's okay with council.
Well, anybody, after you've spoken, anybody else who feels their interests are affected can speak.
I'm the neighbor, 12316 Prairie Valley Road. I abut property to the west and north, but and I speak in favor of the variance.
Can you give us your name, Mr. Dinsmore? Thank you.
Daniel Dinsmore. I could reiterate a bunch of things, but I basically, as the joining neighbor, I support the variance for reasons that have been stated already.
Thank you. Any further comments regarding this variance? Oh, we have another speaker, yes.
Hi, my name is Dwayne Ross. I have property 12917, which is directly across the street from Prairie Valley on the south, outside the hill.
Okay.
And I guess my concern is just the, I think it is going to make a difference to add that driveway there. I don't actually know how engineers, I'm not an engineer, I don't know how an engineer is going to facilitate a driveway there in that hazardous location. I guess I when I bought my property, I knew it was a scary corner, and I think that being in Summerland for a very short period of time, probably the scariest little chunk of roadway in Summerland right there, because it does get a lot of large traffic, and it's a busy area, and it does get bicycles and everything else. I do remember a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago, we got a survey sent to us about sidewalks and improvements and improving the bicycleability and the walking and whatnot in Summerland. So I'm going to ask council just to kind of consider how that one more driveway is actually going to negatively affect that curve and how we can. It is a pretty, it's a very narrow chunk of road there. Yeah, I guess basically that's what I'm going to say.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any further speakers regarding this matter? Mr. Olenko has one more thing to add.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment in response to the gentleman earlier. I just want to assure him that the driveway for the additional lot will not be on the curb. We're very cognizant of sight lines at the corner, and Mr. Dinsmore is working with the property owner, as he's an adjacent property owner, to provide access along the edge of his property, coming out at a point some distance back from the curb to meet proper sightline requirements.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, are there any questions? Well, I'll give the audience one more chance. Is there anybody else who feels they would like to comment on this application? Okay, seeing none. Any questions of staff from council concerning this application? Mr. Patton.
Thank you, Worship. If I may, if we were to look at a half a kilometer of a road widening to 11 meters, if I'm not mistaken, a sidewalk, curb, gutter for a half a kilometer, I'm sorry, but I don't see it on Prairie Valley Road. Right now, the road is already 2 lanes with very little shoulders. We would have to take a lot of material going to the north, and I think the municipality would be better off to take a right-of-way along there for future development, and instead of forcing a sidewalk, curb, and gutter where it's not feasible for half a kilometer of road to force that type of construction. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions of staff? Okay, well, perhaps someone could introduce, I'd like to just deal with one of these, Mr. Van Alpen does.
Thank you.
Will be,
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a point of clarity, if I may, in the documents I'm looking at, where it says background, it's property location Garnet Valley.
It's a mistake.
Typo? No, thank you. I know where it is, and I didn't know how Garnet Valley was related to this, that's all. I have to agree with Councillor Patton. If we're talking, money in lieu of for the future, this is a big project that's going to have to be addressed in the future. like this whole road situation, patchwork and a little bit here and a little bit there is not gonna cut it. I don't think it'll ever cut it. It's, I can see money in lieu of that we can put into a road infrastructure fund, sidewalk infrastructure fund, but, at this point in time, to do a little section by section by section, you'll never get it done anyways, so. Thank you.
Did you have were you going to introduce the motion or, okay, a question? Yeah, okay. Councillor Holmes, please.
Yeah, just following up on that, when cash is accepted in lieu of work, I guess, how's that amount determined? Is it negotiated? Is there some sort of formula? How do we determine the, what's the standard procedure, I guess? Just through to staff, anybody?
Mr. Mayor, I don't believe there's a proposal for cash in lieu of constructed works. The application is to vary the subdivision development services bylaw from the requirement for the development of road up to the center line of the street for the entire frontage of the property within that 20-meter cross-section to no works and services, not a cash in lieu contribution. As part of the subdivision application, it is the legislation does grant the approving officer the authority to take road dedication. So at minimum, the road dedication would be a requirement of subdivision.
Your worship, yeah, I'm not sure there's anything you could attach the in lieu contribution to. And then normally it would be in lieu of X or Y, some kind of an improvement you attach. I think the most important issue is the dedication, as Mr. Patey said. Tagging it to something else could be nebulous because it really has to be tagged to something specific.
Can we, if the council were to choose to deny the second part of this application, could it go back for negotiations of some sort of reduced standard or compromise issue, compromise level of development, not for 500 meters of this class, but 500 meters of some lesser level of development?
Mr. Mayor, thank you for the question. Working with the applicant, that was actually the compromise we were trying to make. We recognize that Prairie Valley Road shouldn't be an arterial standard with 15 meters of asphalt and in a fully constructed with curb gutter, sidewalk, full drainage, streetlights on both sides, and the like. That's a very big requirement for Prairie Valley Road. We recognize that it's essentially a rural road in nature, so the proposal was that we would support the applicant in reducing the requirement down to a rural road standard. So that's just repaving to the center line of the street based on the rural road standard, which is just the 3.6 meter asphalt width plus 1.8 meters for the cycling lane, and the dedication to 20 meters to facilitate future road construction. That was the compromise that staff were trying to work with the applicant to achieve.
Okay, perhaps I'm the confuser because from the description of Mr. Alenko, it sounded like there'd be considerably more work required than that, and that's not what you're proposing then?
That's not.
No.
We have been trying to have that conversation about reducing the standards significantly because we do recognize that that's a very long section of road and also very complicated based on the steep slopes, based on the irregular dedication of the road. If we look back at the picture that Mr. Alenko showed in drawing SK1, we can see that we've got a very irregular undulating property line as it abuts Prairie Valley Road. That's a difficult thing to deal with in terms of trying to create a road alignment. We have been requesting from the applicant for a very long time, since the beginning, that they demonstrate what the road cross-section would look like. If we had to steepen and actually do those constructed works on the frontage of the property, what the top of that steepened bank, also known as the daylight line, would look like. We've asked for the applicant to provide a driveway drawing to demonstrate what the driveway access would look like. I have brought that driveway drawing up on the property. Now, as you'll note, the driveway access does come off the Mr. Dinsmore's property to access the applicant's property. But you'll notice in the slope diagram that the access to the driveway is entirely within a 30% steep slope area. And if I may click to the next screen, that's the proposed location of the driveway. So our engineering department has reviewed the drawings and isn't satisfied that the proposed driveway will work. It doesn't take into consideration the dedication required, because if we go back and look at the previous drawing, we don't know where the 20-meter cross-section dedication width is. It wasn't a stamped and sealed drawing. So at this point, any proposed driveways to the property certainly need much more thorough conversation and much more professional engineering review. If I can just comment that all subdivisions result in works and services, and all roads and works and services are required to be designed by a professional engineer for the municipality. And it is common in virtually, I would say, the majority of applications that we do get fragmented works and services within neighborhoods where you'll get frontage works, and we've all seen sort of small sections of sidewalk being constructed in front of a proposed subdivision, and we get another one down the street and another one further down the street, and you end up with a patchwork. And then our city crews, as part of a capital project, then later come and fill in the project and fill in all the missing teeth, if you will. That is how most roads in the province are built. They are designed by civil engineers in response to an application for subdivision, and they are constructed by an applicant in response to a subdivision, and that's works and services directly attributable to every subdivision application throughout the province and enabled by our legislation. So the proposal here was to work with staff and try to come up with a compromise to reduce the road standard as much as possible to make it as feasible as possible. The works and services requirements have been well-known since 2017 and relayed to the applicant. So it certainly isn't out of nowhere that we've come up with our bylaw requirements, and our bylaw has been in effect for a very long time.
And so at this time, the applicant is offering road dedication and $15,000, and we're saying, no, this is the standard we require. Okay, thank you. Councillor Holmes, did you have a question?
Yeah, you kind of just clarified it, but I guess I'd like to just really be clear on what the difference is between what the applicant is proposing and what staff are proposing, and I'd like to understand if, how big of a, what kind of gap that is, and, so I can get a better feeling if we could send it, if it makes sense to send it back as you suggested or not. So that's what I haven't quite got my head around yet, but I'd like to know what is the difference, how far apart are we?
If there's no burning questions from council, I think I see Mr. Lanko, who has done a lot of work on this and can probably elaborate. Could you?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for this quick opportunity. Just to advise council, the design that's shown on the information that we provided you, the 4.5 meter cut into the road, the 4.5 meter tall wall, that design is the design that staff was asking for. That wasn't the full design. That was a compromise design.
Okay, thank you.
And just to respond to Mr. Patty's comments about no engineering drawings. The drawings were prepared by a professional civil engineer, and they have drawings in the office that show the cross sections of that driveway, and it shows, although the diagram that he shows a bank coming up. Well, there's lots of banks when you pre-construction, that bank would be graded down, and our drawings that we provided the district does show a driveway that's 12%. So if Mr. Patty would like us to have our civil engineer put a seal on there, we certainly can. But we did a plan and profile for that driveway that shows the driveway is at 12%. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Further questions? Sometimes answers lead to questions. If we could, Councilor Traynor, please.
Okay, I just need to be clear then. So does staff have the documents that they have asked for? Then the required documents for like the driveway, for example?
Mr. Mayor, we do have the proposed driveway drawing, and that driveway drawing does show a profile of how that driveway would work. However, that drawing was reviewed by our Public Works and Engineering Department, and their comment was that they felt the driveway was infeasible, drawn as shown, and that much more discussion would have to be had with the applicant in order to create a driveway profile that would work with the existing topography of land to make that driveway work. As you can see, there's not a lot of information provided, with the exception of the profiles that I left out just for trying to fit this image within the drawing. You can see that there's not much information provided along this road frontage to show us where the 20-meter dedication line would go in relation to that driveway. If the goal is to regrade that portion of land, this portion of land here, to be able to create the 12-meter driveway, and the 12-meter driveway, 12% slope is designed for fire truck access. If that's true, then we'd want to know how that driveway is going to work with the total road cross-section, and we would need to see that in engineering drawings. And we don't have any engineering drawings for Prairie Valley Road cross-section to show how this proposed driveway is accessed by Prairie Valley. We don't know the sightline distances, we don't know what that grading looks like. Again, I'll go back to the comment that I made about having any top of bank sort of sight distances as you drive around Prairie Valley Road. And it is well known that Prairie Valley Road is a dangerous road around this section. So the daylight line, that's the top of bank, we would like to have that information so that our engineering department can make an informed decision about how to proceed for this section of road. We would have to issue a driveway permit, and it has to meet our driveway bylaw. And at this point, we're not there.
Thank you. Any further questions for Mr. Patty? Yes, Councillor Patton, please.
Thank you, Worship. So, correct me if I'm wrong, please. So if I take it that the driveway permit would be required at time of building permit? If they were to be developed on that land?
They would, Mr. Mayor, as part of the subdivision application, subdivision happens in 3 phases. We issue what's called preliminary layout approval. That's signed off by the approving officer, and that is essentially a document that approves your proposed layout, but gives you a bucket list of items that are necessary to achieve in order to apply for final approval. So this second phase that we're in, the construction phase, achieving all of the requirements within the PLA, the preliminary layout approval, that's our Public Works and Engineering Department has a direct relationship with the applicant at that stage in order to receive civil engineering drawings from the professional engineer for how they propose to construct the road, how they propose to construct and connect the services, how they propose to create trenching for utilities, and so on and so forth. That whole process is kind of the design stage with Public Works and Engineering. Prior to applying for final approval of the subdivision and registration at Land Title's office, you have to have completed all of the requirements in the PLA in order to register your subdivision. At that point, we would take a maintenance agreement to maintain the services that are in the ground for a period of 1 year, and a number of other things. So all of those works and services are typically done prior to final approval. Works and services are often done at the building permit stage, in accordance with the legislation, where a subdivision isn't the proposal. We can still get frontage works and services as part of a building permit application as well.
Second half.
Yeah, follow up.
Thank you so much. So realistically, through the driveway permit, we could ask for the civil engineering for the design of that driveway, because at the same time, you'd have to ask for a reciprocal access agreement from Mr. Densmore's property to the new lot. Am I correct? So if that's the case, why could we not get that engineering for that driveway at time of the driveway permit, which would give the applicants time to carry on with the development, get you the design that you require?
Mr. Mayor, if I might weigh in, as the subdivision approving officer, I would caution that a lot should not be created unless we can be satisfied that access can be established, building envelopes can be established, environmental development permit area guidelines have been addressed. And those things are required prior to final subdivision approval. Certainly, as a subdivision approving officer, I would be remiss in my duties if I signed a subdivision plan where I was not satisfied that access, practical access, could be provided to that property before.
Thank you, that's understandable. I noticed there was, like, on the previous subdivision application, there was building sites that, laid out on the subdivision. So right now, we just have a conceptual plan for a driveway and not the specifics that would give you as the approving officer comfort that this subdivision wasn't in vain, so to speak, that the...
Correct.
Yes. Thank you. And, okay, so I think I would like to deal with this variance application in two parts, because there's an A and there's a B. If we could have a motion for Part A and have a quick discussion on that, I don't see a lot of controversy, and then we'll have a separate motion concerning Part B. Would that be, if anybody would be willing to make that? Councillor Holmes?
I'll bring forward Part A to be approved.
And Councillor Van Alphen, you second that? Any discussion on the variance for the buffer? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. So now, we want to deal separately with this road variance, and to summarize, I think my understanding is that the applicant has offered $15,000 and road right-of-way, and the district has said that it really isn't sufficient to provide the... Oh, I see that that's not the correct summary. I'm glad I... Yeah, I'm glad
Mr.
that-
Mayor, if I might, the addition of provision of monies is new information to staff
Right.
this evening. So there was quite a bit of information that was shared with you that wasn't part of the discussion with staff. So I'd like to just make that clear.
Right, you did make that point. That really wasn't on the table before and part of any...
Correct, thank you.
Yes. So, to have council discussion, unless there's more questions of staff, Councillor Holmes?
Just more discussion than anything. I think the proponent raises some valid points. I think also, though, there are some principles that they seem to reject, which I think are important. For example, the idea that it's not fair that the adjacent property should pay for road improvements because the road's used by the entire community. That to me is like saying you shouldn't shovel your sidewalk in front of your house because everybody walks down it, and so the city should do it all. And if we did that, everybody's taxes would go up a ridiculous amount. So there is this principle of sense of community. And I think if the proponent is prepared to accept some of these kind of principles and not think that it's us against, me against the world, then I think I would be prepared to defer this and ask that they sit down with staff and try again with hearing the offer that we've heard tonight with road dedication and cash in lieu to offset some of the work. I'm not sure if $15,000 is nearly enough to offset the work that might be required at some point in the future, but the idea that there should be some the road design stage and construction before we actually expect them to the work is a fair comment, I think.
I have a question concerning procedure, CEO. If we defeat this application, do they have to wait 6 months to come back, or would it be better to defer it and come back with something different?
Your Worship, I think, it'd be better to defer it. What I'm hearing of council is that there's a concern that regardless of where you are in the spectrum, that even the compromise is still viewed in some way as onerous on it. Now it's a matter of degrees and how, what does that look like? And this really isn't the venue for negotiating with the developer. So therefore, I think that, what I heard council say is that, the idea of a dedication is the first part, and that's the most important part. And then what the rest of that looks like is something that needs to be negotiated, and direction to staff saying, here's the box you now find yourself. The approving officer ultimately has back to your question, and as raised by the director, has the ultimate decision on what gets approved, and an approving officer will never approve anything that's not safe, or shouldn't anyways. So council doesn't need to worry about the driveway or that, because that'll be dealt with. The real question is, are you prepared to, in this particular case, vary your bylaw, for all the reasons we've heard tonight, to some semblance of something that's fair and reasonable for this particular type of development? And I'm hearing council has some sympathy for that. Now the question is, what does that look like? And I think sending it back to staff with that message to see, is there some compromise in that in lieu portion that can make up some kind of improvement that we could set aside, with the warning that once it's in lieu, it'll sit in a bank account for a very, that's why, when the $15,000 is probably more trouble than it's worth, because it'll sit in a bank account until we have something that we could put on that road for it. Mr. Pady may have some to add to make it a little easier for you to move on, Your Worship.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to add that the requirement for dedication is a requirement. We are taking the dedication as part of the subdivision, so that's not part of the negotiation at this stage, which then just leaves the $15,000, which I don't know that we have a fund appropriate for the $15,000 at this point, or if we create a fund, but I just wanted to take that dedication piece off the table. That's not something on offer, that's something that we take.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me, you should, excuse me. We're having council discussion now. Okay, so what I hear is that there is a certain sympathy that the complete arterial road dedication is too much, but, nothing is not enough, and that improvements it would be fair that they make some improvements, and staff should maybe work out what those improvements look like. We want to see, I drive that road every day, it's not that safe. If we can get some improvement, it's only one lot, it's not fair that he should do half a kilometer's worth of full improvements, so let's hope something can be worked out. Can we have a motion maybe to defer this to a future meeting, and staff, refer it back to staff, basically, for further discussion? Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to defer the request to eliminate the off-site improvement requirements and refer the matter back to staff, something like that. That work?
Does that work? Yep. Seconder? Councillor Patton, if you raise your hand instead of nodding your head, I'd be more comfortable. Thank you. Any further discussion on that? We've kind of, Councillor Carlson.
I think that we've learned a lot from both staff and the proponent tonight, and the new information that has been presented needs to be discussed and brought forward so that we can make the right decision. So I appreciate that this will take a little bit more time, but hopefully it will be something that will make everybody feel more comfortable instead of making a mistake right now. So
It's an important piece of road. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried. We have another development variance permit. Development services, we have.
Thank you. DVP 19-014 is proposing to vary the rear property line setback for a winery building from 30 meters to 7.9 meters to facilitate the conversion of a farm storage building into a winery building. Farm storage buildings are permitted to be sited up to 7 meters from a rear property line. The rationale for this application is to protect the integrity of the agricultural land by restricting development to current, unfarmed, or unfarmable areas. The proposed building site is already disturbed and should not have an effect on the established agricultural operations of the lot. The official community plan supports maintaining the integrity of the ALR and strengthening the economic base of the community. The applicant has provided these elevations to show what the structure will look like. As keeping development within a confined area of ALR farmland is a key priority of the ALC and of the District of Summerland Official Community Plan, staff recommend that DVP 19-014 be approved.
Do we have any questions for our planning staff regarding this application? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead again. I keep forgetting that the proponent has an opportunity to address the council concerning the application. Well, you could, you have your first, and we'll give you an opportunity to speak again after the neighbors, if you like.
I'm fine.
Okay. Any neighbors would like to speak? Yes, I know, I'm certain there's one.
Hello, my name is Dennis Sokol. I live at 203 Magic Dragon Road, and I own lot 19, block A, PL 974. I initially sent in a letter opposing the change in variance, assuming that the variance would apply across the top of my property, which is right on the top of the hill looking at the lake. I would not be against having this variance go through as long as the council accepted the fact that I have a covenant or whatever it's called, restricting any building sites for 50 feet from the property line at the top of the hill towards the east. And I was reassured by Mr. Taylor that this variance applies only to the building that's already built and would not extend across towards the lot owned by Mr. and Mrs. Chabot. So as long as there is no building erected 50 feet from the property line towards the lake or towards the east, I would not have any issue with this, contrary to what I had written in my letter that I had submitted when I first received the District of Summerland Development Services letter saying they're going to ask for a change in the variance from 30 meters to 7.9 meters. This covenant that I have is logged on with land titles, and it's been in place since 1977, and it was supposed to be there in perpetuity, I guess, because of the man who owned the property before I bought it in 1989 gave a right-of-way to the lots adjacent to my lot. So that was in compensation. So I would like to ensure that that maintains, validity, that there will be no building 50 feet in that area from the easement towards the lake. And that was my only issue.
Can you help me, can you step over to the board and explain?
Well, this is the easement that, as Mr.
This is the road easement down to the property that you're pointing at there, yes?
And as part of giving that easement in 1977, there was a covenant put that no buildings could be put in this area here.
In the blue area?
In the blue area, and I think even onto Block D, Plan 268, that no buildings could go on that for 50 feet, so that they would not obscure the vision of any house or anything that I put on my property when I
Right.
look at the lake.
So the covenant would override this variance anyhow
Well,
legally,
would
right?
it do that? That's all I want to
Yeah.
make sure, that they could not, that the variance change would not trump the
Yeah.
covenant change.
Okay, thank you. Any further speakers? Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Andrea Sabo. My husband Tony and I own the property adjacent to the applicant for 40 years. We have two concerns. One is for the protection of the value of the Sokol lot on Lakeview. Those are concerns fed by the application for the farm storage building. It was very evident from the start of construction that it was a very unique farm storage building with skylights and patio areas. It's not the first time that the applicant has made buildings, structures non-conforming. I have one against my property line that did not have a permit and is non-conforming. There's also a storage shed on the power line easement. So I'm not having too much good faith in whether the 50-foot setback would be respected. My second concern is the driveway. It is a four-party private driveway easement. It is very narrow. It's dangerous in the wintertime. It's only 20 feet wide. The portion that goes across the north side of the applicant's property is our driveway easement, which is 20 feet or 6 meters, with a 7.9 variance. If he constructed buildings adjacent to that 6-meter driveway, even opening a barn door would add a sense of conflict to the property and access for myself, my guests, my invitees. So that's a concern. I think an alternate proposal, if we looked at granting the variance from the driveway easement south, that way it would avoid our driveway easement any potential conflicts with the properties that Sokol own and any Lakeview impairment that they might suffer. Any questions?
Council? No? Thank you. Any further speakers?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and staff. When we started looking
Excuse me, your name, address?
6611 Giants Head Road. When we looked at this property, we're well aware of the easement with regards to Mr. Sokol's property, and so there is no further plan there. And as Mrs. Zabo had suggested, that there would be nothing going on there. When the building was originally conceived, it had an office in it in the front. There was an area for tractor storage. The building that was previously done was for the electrical service, which was signed off by the district of Summerland to put the power lines underground. It's a unique property in the fact that there's water that comes up the property, and recently we found out of an illegal easement going across from the existing log house over to Zabo's property right now, and that there's a water line that services a number of properties up at the top that we're working with engineering on. The reason we looked at changing this was we originally had planned on building over on Canyon View Road, and we figured that we could take the office out of this area and leave it. We use the existing property for winery production right now out of the garage. There's actually a Garage Easter Festival this Sunday up in Kelowna if you want to go. Please qualify. The interesting thing about traffic, and I look at the letter from my neighbors, and we're very cognizant of it. We're the only ones that, since I was there, that paid for gravel to be brought in. Of course, it washed off there pretty quickly.
Excuse me.
And so, it's constantly sort of an issue in terms of how we're dealing with the driveway. Typically, our wine is sold out of Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, and Kelowna. We have agents. We have a warehouse in Vancouver. We have a warehouse in Calgary, and we have a warehouse here, Mission Bottle Wash in Summerland, that we use. So, for example, over the long weekend, the neighbors sell wonderful fruit and vegetables and everything else. And over the recent 3-day weekend, we counted 65 cars in and out of the property. We had 5 tastings that weekend. Our business is not the tourist business. The tasting room would be only 300 square feet. We're not set up for buses. We don't do buses. That's not what we do. We primarily have allotments. For example, Cactus Club in Kelowna has a large allotment for us. Predator Ridge has a large allotment for us. None of those, and that constitutes about 15% of our production. We then ship stuff off to Vancouver and Calgary. And so we have very limited tastings of people that come up there. Recently at a meeting with the provincial deputy ministers, it was all about agritourism. Again, we have very limited traffic. I would love to pave the driveway. The neighbors don't want to pave the driveway. I had asked if we could pay 50-50 or 60-40. I would contribute a larger portion, and that was turned down. The closest property, if you look at it, Block 18, or Lot 18, Block A, Plan 268, Herman has sent along a letter in support of that. And additionally, the neighbors to the south and the lessee of the property, Deep Bar, who leases the cherries. We've all gotten along, the 3 owners that are up there. When it's cherry season, the driveway's packed with people. We've tried to be cognizant during construction, but again, we had 1 tasting today. There was a lot more people going next door to buy fruits and vegetables, and hopefully you'll all take advantage of that. But if there's any questions of what we're doing, the only proposal is just to do it there and to keep it small. That's our only goal. We know that we're not allowed to build under any area where there's restrictive covenant.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead. Give your name and...
My name is Ashley Sabo. I actually live in Penticton, but these are my lovely in-laws. So I live at 769 Ontario Street. I'd like to talk about this driveway. I actually slid down the driveway last winter. My father-in-law has taken care of it for 40 years. I've driven on this driveway for 13 years, so I'm quite experienced in knowing how to navigate it. I'm not coming up for a wine tasting or something like that. And I actually slid down it and almost over the dogleg corner. And that was in a four-wheel drive vehicle with studded tires. It was horrifying. And I don't know how someone's gonna come up and go to Light Up the Vines or something like that. I've seen my father-in-law out there taking care of this driveway for years. He's out there scraping it and maintaining it. The applicant has had weddings there and things like that. He has a quad that sometimes he drives around on and will scrape a little bit. But he doesn't have a tractor. This is a 1 kilometer off-road stretch that has a serious grade and serious corners. And that hasn't been considered. It's blind corner at the very bottom. So to have a tourist or someone coming up there, and drinking at that, to offer someone alcohol and then put them on a driveway that they don't know, I'm not going to be comfortable driving up there, and it's my family home. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If you'd like to come to the podium and name and address, please.
I'd just like to make one more point. Tony has almost exclusively maintained that driveway for 40 years. They put one load of gravel on it for $100. We have spent hours and hours and hours maintaining that driveway. And as far as traffic is concerned, we grow primarily peaches, which have a season from the 15th of July to the 25th of August, thereabouts. So that traffic does come up to our property. We've sold off the farm for 40 years.
Thank you. Any further comments? Come to the podium and state your name and address, please.
Could we just turn that mic up? We can't hear
Oh, okay.
anything back here. I don't know if it's separate to what yours is or... Thank you.
Might be too late. There might be no more comments, unless you'd like to come up and make one.
I'll take my chances.
Test. Is it dead? It's on. Oh, it's on. You have to talk behind that. Test. Can't hear you. Test, test, test. Please make it work.
It's like the old days when we had tube TVs. Technical difficulties are temporary. Please do not change the station.
Who would have thought?
4 years ago, we had the same problem.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Volume's a little high now.
Yeah, the volume's high.
Now we can hear everybody in the audience.
We're adjourned. Let's do everything tonight. Take minutes.
Testing, testing, testing. Can you hear me now? A little bit louder? Okay. I'll just get really close to it too.
Okay, thanks for pointing that out. Are there any further comments from the gallery regarding the current development permit application? Seeing none, we'll go to council. If council have any questions for our staff? Mr. Councillor Holmes, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just wondering about the question of easements. Is that any role for the district to be involved in, or is it basically, if there's a dispute, it's just a matter between the two property owners?
Thank you. Yes, that is the case with private easements. The district regulates when the driveway is initially installed and where it accesses the highway. But the easement is a private agreement between the members of the easement, of which the district is not party to.
Thank you.
Any questions? Any further questions of staff? Not seeing any questions. Would someone like to put the motion on the table as written? Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I'll move that development variance permit DVP 19-014 be approved.
Any seconder? Councillor Patton? Any discussion? Councillor Carlson?
Just to know, it's not the district's place to talk about the driveway, but I would suggest that any vineyard owner with a steep driveway perhaps own a tractor and know how to plow a driveway.
Any further comments? I was going to suggest that a vineyard or winery owner would be motivated to have good access, so it might be an opportunity to see a contribution to this driveway. I'm familiar with the property. It's a long dirt road. Yeah, it can only be improved. Any further comments, discussions? I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none, carried. Okay, item 11.4, development permit. 10114 Main Street, downtown development permit area. This sounds like something for our development planning team.
Still stuck with me. DP 19-011 has been submitted to address a form and character downtown development permit for a facade improvement at 10114 Main Street. The building in question is the Old Medicine Center, located between True Grain Bread and Sass Boutique. This is a rendering of the proposed improvements in relation to the existing streetscape. The existing facade will be removed and refaced with acrylic stucco and aluminum composite siding. The aluminum composite siding is coming around. As per the downtown design guidelines, the color palette has been chosen to reflect natural colors in the surrounding environment, all accented with black metal windows, doors, and an awning over the rental commercial retail unit. This awning was requested to better improve the interface between the public and commercial space. The color palette will be predominantly silver and beluga whale white, with black highlights and corporate branding accounting for the red and blue colors. The rear of the building will be repainted to create a cleaner image along the lane. The color selected is charred coal. Materials selected are durable and weather resistant and include aluminum composite siding for the rental commercial retail unit, rough acrylic stucco over the primary CRU, which will have a larger grid pattern to draw the continuity of both structures along the face of the building. Lighting will be recessed and downcast, and both the RE/MAX sign and the rental CRU sign will be illuminated. Illuminated signs are permitted in the sign bylaw in the commercial zone. The rear of the building will have 2 motion sensor floodlights. Signage is proposed as shown on the sign plan. I will note that the rental CRU will be required to apply for a sign permit in order to install their fascia sign in the light box. There are 3 proposals for frontage amenities, which will further increase the streetscape appeal of the development. First, the applicant is suggesting to replace the concrete garbage bins with more contemporary units, as it has been noted that most of these bins are becoming damaged. Council may wish to direct staff to work with the applicant to find a suitable replacement that also takes recycling into consideration. As landscaping and greenery are mentioned as desirable in the downtown design guidelines, the applicant will be placing 4 galvanized powder steel coated planter beds along the frontage and rear of the building maintained by the business. Finally, as the applicant has requested the removal of the 2 community benches, removal and replacement elsewhere of the 2 community benches, to allow for the installation of a door and a large window at their location, it is being proposed to offset the seating with modern cast concrete seating cubes that measure 2 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet and can be placed on the sidewalk near the shade tree. This will help to tie the modern design of the building into the public area. The planters will not impede on the sidewalk, and the placement of the cubes will be such as to not impede the thoroughfare for foot traffic or those with enhanced mobility support. Finally, there is sufficient parking for 5 vehicles. However, the requirements in the zoning bylaws for 10. The owner will pay $10,000 cash in lieu for parking as prescribed in the zoning bylaw, which will be put in the parking reserve fund. The Summerland Library is another example of modern design which is integrated well into an area with an older building style. The development generally meets the designs of the downtown form and character design guidelines and the official community plan, and staff recommend that DP 19-011 be approved.
Any questions for staff? Councillor Holmes?
Yes, thank you. You said that illuminated signs are permitted in the bylaws? I thought in downtown they weren't.
Motion signs are not permitted in the downtown, so any signs that change their text or electronic movable copy signs are not permitted.
So that's not the same thing then?
No, these are just illuminated. There's no motion involved.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Van Alphen?
Thank you. Your worship, if approved, what's the timeline? Any idea on timeline when this might be completed?
Your worship, I don't have a timeline, but the applicant has been very keen to get going, so I would assume soon.
Thank you.
I have a question. If this is just a sort of a reformatting of an existing retail location, why are additional parking spaces required?
There's a building permit that is involving a change of use, and a change of use requires that the parking considerations be considered again. The same thing happened with the pet barn on the corner, and also with the brewery that is opening up has opened on Victoria North.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? All right, does someone would like to put the permit on the table? Councillor Van Alphen?
As presented.
As presented in the agenda. A seconder? Councillor Trainer, I think you beat Councillor Patton. Okay. Any further discussion? Councillor Holmes? Oh, Councillor Trainer.
I was just going to say, when I first saw this, I was like, wow. It stands out quite a bit from the rest of downtown, but then I thought that's probably because a lot of the downtown has looked the same for so long. So I think it is actually kind of exciting that there's going to be something different and a little bit more modern. And I also like the fact that it does tie into the library, so it's not just kind of a one-off. So yeah, I think it'll be a big change for downtown, but I think it's something that maybe will inspire others to upgrade their frontages as well.
Anyone else? I guess I can chip in with my comment. I had the same impression, the only saving grace being that the library was somewhat similar. I think it sticks out like a sore thumb in our downtown, but I know I'm going to be outvoted on that issue. I go to other communities and I see so many different generations of buildings and no conformity, and Summerland has had this theme which has been abandoned, and I guess that's what people want. So Call the question.
Hold on.
Councillor
Just a
Carlson.
comment, I think that, well, one might assume that the folks who designed and are working on this project know how to sell a building and make it look and appeal to modern day and to customers. So hopefully, they've got the right people making these designs. I think when you look at it standalone in the original picture, it's different than when you look at it sandwiched between two existing two-story buildings. So it does pose some questions, but I think that it's, as Councillor Traynor said, maybe it's time to move forward and improve some other frontages.
Councillor Van Alpen and Holmes.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm excited. I like the look of it. I think it's, you know, a lot of this is in our downtown core is overdue. I might encourage others to want to think outside the box somewhat. But the other exciting part of this, being that they're moving from their current location to here, would probably suggest another person might be moving into their old space. So there's just another business coming to Summerland too.
Maybe a craft brewery? Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, thank you. And just to, I guess, reassure you, maybe Councillor Barkwell, I think if you see what the pet barn, if that's what they're called, looks like, it made this transformation from the Tudor look to, and I don't think it looks too bad right now. And the very first building to make that transition from the Tudor design was actually our fire hall. And I think it looks pretty good. So I think it's, you know, I think it's a way forward, I think.
Any further comment? All those in favor? Carried. 11.5, Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch. Referral for an application for a non-medical cannabis retail store on Main Street. Development Services. Who's beeping?
Thank you, Your Worship. This will be our third non-medical cannabis retail license application, so I will be succinct. The district has received the referral for non-medical cannabis retail outlet to be located at 102-10105 Main Street. The proposed location meets the requirements of having a 50-meter distance from any sensitive location. The park is approximately 60 meters walkable distance, and to the rec center and high school it's approximately 150 meters. Upon receipt of the referral, staff undertook public notification in accordance with Council Policy 300.6. A notification sign was placed on the property by the applicant on July 24th, 2019, and a newspaper article ran on August 1st, 2019. Both forms of notification invited feedback in writing and informed the public that it would be considered at this meeting. As the proposal is consistent with the zoning bylaw and meets the requirements of applicable policies, staff recommends that referral LCR BC 19-002 be supported and that staff be directed to forward the subject application to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch for consideration.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of staff concerning this application? Councillor Carlson.
I'm just wondering, I haven't seen any correspondence. Have we received any?
None. The controversy's over. Any other questions of staff?
No.
There's too many comments could be made here. Would someone like to present the motion as, it's rather long, perhaps just from the agenda? Councillor Van Alphen?
I can move the motion as presented.
Councillor Carlson, were you,
I'll
had your
second
hand
it.
up to second that motion? Okay, any discussion? Councillor Patton?
Thank you, Worship. Just a question to staff, if I may. Is the 50 meters to the school, that's not our policy, is it? Is that a government policy?
Your Worship, the 50 walkable meters is the council policy in 300.6.
Thank you.
I'm reading the policy, I just can't see it. I should put my glasses on. Thank you.
I understand. Yeah, I guess that the school board didn't like the previous application, they wouldn't think much of this one either.
I did speak with the school board. They weren't going to have a meeting until I believe it was the end of September. So there's the option to let them, but I did put the correspondence from their previous comments on the report.
So that's, we understand their position. Any further discussion? Councillor Holmes?
I don't really have anything further to say. I said that I said the last two applications we had, and nothing's changed since. So I would support the motion.
Okay, any further comments? All right, all in favor? Carried. All right, so we are at...
Councillor Holmes have a question
Acting
for you.
Mayor?
Sorry.
Could I just ask a question of staff, if they know that, so we've just heard that Penticton is opening their first cannabis store, and I believe the first application in the valley came to us first that we approved. Do we know does anybody know the process? I know the people who have certainly applied the first time have been waiting quite a long time. Do you remember when that was like in November or something?
We were the first on, perhaps staff have some idea of the status?
I have been following the application, and the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch will not tell me anything under Freedom of Information, but I do believe that it is still with the province's third-party auditors.
Okay.
And that is all the information I've been able to pry out of anyone.
So the provincial people have contracted out review of these sites to third parties, you say?
As I understand it, there is a third-party auditing group.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure what the purpose is.
All right, thanks.
Just follow up.
Okay.
So we don't know if it's first come, first serve, or how they do it?
No.
All right, item 11.6 on the agenda is special event temporary road closure for the fall fair. Who will speak to this? Angelique.
That's important.
So although the fall fair occurred last year and did apply for a temporary road closure last year, because this road closure application is for a different road, we have to go through the process again of another request. So the fall fair has planned to only have their party in Memorial Park and Wharton Street on Friday, September 6th, and not have the Farmers Tailgate party occur on Main Street as it did last year. So the intention behind all of that is to bring the party closer and tighter into one more family-friendly event, all focused on Memorial Park. The overall request for the temporary road closure is just for Wharton Street, but I will point out too that there has been a lot of discussion between staff and the fall fair about the parking cars on Memorial Park green space. And the primary reason for staff from a few different departments requesting that the fall fair consider parking their vehicles on Wharton Street has been that Memorial Park is filled with historic trees that can be damaged by having a lot of traffic on them. Now, it's known that the show and shine will be occurring the next day in the same location, and the park itself does undergo a lot of traffic from another major event, Action Fest. So while staff have been looking at this request and working with the proponent, it was discovered that the bylaw we have for our park use does contain a map and information about where cars are allowed at Memorial Park, and we're currently not conforming to our bylaw. So it's just worth council noting that, it's not a good time to be making a discovery like this because we're very close to the event occurring. But it's something that, should we undertake perhaps a Memorial Park master plan, this kind of information may want to be considered, especially as we undertake asset management planning and we're talking about natural assets, which are really hard to replace. So in short, this is just about Wharton, but there's more to consider for later.
Any questions for Angelique? Council? Councilor Carlson?
I'm wondering if the same conversation and scrutiny is given to the other events that do happen in the park, particularly the show and shine, which is simply cars parked on the field, and if that...
As I understand it, the other events that are happening in the park have obtained prior council approval, so I'm not certain the kinds of conversations that have been had, but certainly among staff, it's been a conversation that perhaps work needs to be done to protect the park and start moving anything but people out of it. The current construction along Kelly does make this very challenging because once that construction is completed, it's likely it'll be a lot easier for a lot more festivities to occur with sufficient parking and access. But right now, with the closure of both Kelly and Wharton, that space is challenging to reach. And certainly, I think, in the long run, a better solution for the inhabitants of the park that can't speak, which is the trees, should perhaps be given.
So the plan that comes with your report shows food vendors and farmer meet and greet in the northeast corner. Is that still the plan?
I think you might have north wrong. Okay, yep, you've got food trucks north,
basically Wharton,
east.
south of Wharton.
Wharton closest to where Kelly is.
Yeah.
And then the L-shaped lines indicates trucks to be parked on the lawn, closest to where the fitness equipment and Kelly and the hillside are. And in conversation with Fall Fair organizers, organizers also respect and care about trees and want to do the best for the park, and are suggesting that they could make sure to park well outside of the drip lines, which we realize would then also be outside of where the routes are positioned, for the most part.
Right. Councilor Holmes?
So it says, vehicles are only allowed on a designated area, and trying to look at this map, that would just be the sidewalk?
It would basically just be the walkway, the path that runs along where the horseshoe, between the horseshoe pits, like we're totally overdoing it, basically.
Yeah, I see.
Councilor Carlson?
I think it's a valid point that we should be talking about following the current planned events that are coming up over the next couple of months as we go forward towards 2020. It's worth making sure that if we have a bylaw regarding where people can park, that everybody who wants to use the park is treated the same way, because we can't expect that one evening we say no and the next evening or the next day we say, yeah, go ahead. So I would, unless there's further questions, I'd like to move the motion.
Any other questions for Angelique? So just to be clear then, sorry, I do have a question before you move the motion. The tailgate party will be in that corner of the park then?
The tailgate party is proposed for, as seen on the map, the area running along Kelly and along the hillside of Memorial Park. And
Along which map are we looking at?
So if you look at the yellow hand-drawn map.
Okay, yeah, that's in our agenda.
Yes.
I don't see the below the, second part you said, the...
When I mentioned
horseshoe
the,
purpose?
no, what Councillor Holmes is referring to is in the bylaw that I just passed out.
Right.
There's a map that shows where cars are allowed, and basically no cars are allowed anywhere in Memorial Park. So if we're following our bylaw, which is what staff have to do, we're not supposed to be allowed to give anyone permission. It will require council asking us not to enforce our bylaw.
And does this motion ask us to not enforce the...
No, we've just gotten there in the conversation. We were just talking about the road closure.
All right, so going back to the farmer's tailgate, it is on the grass in the northeast corner?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, because I mean, I see also that this map's out of date, has a drain field from the old retirement center, that's not there anymore, things like that. That might have been a concern at one time. All right, Councilor Carson.
Okay, I'll move the motion then to close Wharton Street on September 6th from noon till 10 p.m. as requested by the Fall Fair Society.
Any seconder? Councilor Traynor? Any more discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Now, item 11.7, special event temporary road closure on 19218 Lakeshore Drive North. So that would be from...
This was written by Martin Stam, Manager of Works, because these permits quite often go through the Works Department. It's a good contrast to the previous road closure, which was sponsored by an organization of the community. It was for a public event. This road closure request is not by a community organization, it is not for a public event, and thereby does not meet the policy for road closure. It's not for construction, it's not for a public event. So staff have no choice but to recommend that it not be permitted under policy.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions of staff concerning this application? No questions? Any discussion? Well, does somebody want to put it on the table for discussion? Councillor Holmes?
I'll move that the application be denied.
Per the motion in the agenda, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Seconded? Councillor Van Alphen, any discussion? Councillor Traynor?
I realize, you know, the bylaw and policy makes sense for this, but I think that considering the location of it, it's, you know, out of the way, it's not a main street, it's not affecting traffic except for local traffic, and given that the neighbors have all written in letters of support, I would be okay with this. If it was on a major road where I saw like issues, then I can see why we would deny it. But in this case, I think it's reasonable to make an exception.
Councillor Carlson, then Councillor Holmes, and then Councillor Van Alphen.
I tend to find myself agreeing with you, Councillor Traynor. I think that 2 weeks from now, if I was having a wedding down in Crescent Beach in Summerland and I had made this big plan, it would be, perhaps there's oversight, and it could have been something that was discussed months ago, but I would support them being allowed to use the portion of road for the evening that it's requested.
Councillor Holmes?
I think closing a public road for a private event is a dangerous precedent to set, and I would not, I can't support this at all. Having said that, there's nothing stopping wedding guests to park on the road and to use the road, but to prevent access to the public is, in principle, I can't accept it.
Councillor Van Alphen?
Thank you, Worship. It looks to me like you're looking at possibly 10 separate properties that would be affected. You know, if there's a fire or an emergency situation and our rescue vehicles have to get through there, it could be difficult. So closing of a public road probably wouldn't be the best idea.
Any further comment? Councillor Van Patten?
Thank you, Worship. I think that arrangements could be made with the fire department that a special event is happening on the road, and that provisions with the fire department and our fire chief can be made to ensure that emergency access was available if an incident would occur. But I think where this is located, I have to agree with Councillor Traynor and Carlson that we're in a back corner of Crescent Beach that I don't think it's a high-traffic area, and I think it would be, I can't see anything wrong with it.
Any further comments? I'd say, maybe I'll give my comments here. I think that this closure will affect a lot more than the few property owners that wrote in support. In fact, and I even question their support in that you want to get along with the neighbors, and so you know there's a big party going on, so you say yes, you'll support it. But there's a lot of other people in the neighborhood, and it just seems like a crazy thing to do, to be shutting the road down for a private party. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't seem like it's something that the district should be contemplating and getting into. Our policy clearly says, has anticipated this sort of thing, saying, a public event is something, but a private party, it just, and I don't have a problem going against policy if there's some reason to make an exception for that policy, because you can't write policy for everything, but this seems like exactly the sort of case where the policy has no reason to be accepted. So when we come to the vote, I'll be supporting the motion as written. Any further comment? Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Worship. If I'm not mistaken, and I could be, do we not have a block party policy where a road can be closed for a neighborhood event? No?
Staff don't seem to be aware.
Another life.
And I would say a block party for this would be from, Higgins all the way around. Okay, I'll call the question. All those, we have another comment, Councillor Traynor.
I just have one more thing to add. I think, if it was on the street that I live on in Trout Creek, I would say no, because it's where I live is a main street, which people need to get by all the time. And so I try to look at everything like on a case-by-case basis, and I mean, generally I always go with policy, but I think sometimes if it's a reasonable exception, which I think that this one is, especially because there's two accesses, that if we can make something work for people, like residents in Summerland, for one day, I think it's okay. That's where I'm coming from.
Any further comments? All right, then all in favor? Opposed? So do you want to put another motion on the table to?
That again?
The motion was.
Hear you wrong?
The motion was that the application be denied.
Correct.
And so by voting against the motion, it's still in limbo. There has to be another motion to permit the application. And would someone like to make that motion? That would be reasonable.
I would make a motion to allow the road to be closed.
All right. And is there a seconder? Councillor Traynor? Any further discussion? Any points that weren't raised the last time? Okay, all those in favor? Against? Fails. I guess that's the end. Next item, 11.8, closure and disposal of Slater Road.
Yes. Bring it up. I need to write that fun motion in there.
Changed it up on you.
That's good. Okay, so this, coming to council for, staff are asking for direction whether or not to take this to the next steps. An application came in for closure of a portion of Slater Road, which is primarily an unconstructed road right-of-way off of Matsu Drive. The applicant is from 19609 Matsu Drive, and the end of Slater Road is effectively a driveway, which the district has so far been responsible for maintaining and plowing snow and so forth, and thanks to friendly neighbors has been able to turn the snowplow around. As noted in the report, the neighbor at 19560 at the time of writing was opposed to this for a couple of concerns. As you heard from her at the beginning of the meeting, it sounds like some discussion has occurred with the applicant, and so there may be more openness to making this work for everyone. From a technical standpoint, the district has no concerns about the potential closure and sale of the road. But before we go to the next steps of figuring out the value of that land and how it might be divvied up, we'd like council's opinion on this.
Any questions from staff? Does our planning department have any additional information on this, since it kind of involves properties and...
No problem.
So details to come if council approves the pursuit of this.
Correct.
Any questions? Does anybody want to put the motion on the table? Councillor Holmes?
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Seconded by Councillor Van Alpen. Any discussion?
Just briefly, I haven't Googled Slater Road, but I would just make sure that if this moves forward, we make sure that Google doesn't show the public access, because I know there's points along Matsu and Slater where it would consider people driving that direction. So I don't know how you contact Google and tell them that certain things are inaccessible, but it would be advisable in this situation, I think.
Councillor Holmes.
That's actually a very good point, because I did Google it, and there's like 3 Slater roads. They're all over the place, and it took me a while to figure out which section they were actually talking about, and I think it's probably the only section that isn't indicated as Slater roads. So, but yeah.
Google Maps could send you off a cliff someday. Any further questions, comments? So, okay, all those in favor? Thank you. So, next item, CPRA Green Jobs Initiative request for letter of support. That would be from, Tammy, Ms. Rothery.
She's still here?
Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor and Council. As noted in your report, the Canadian Parks and Recreation Association has requested a letter of support for their bid in getting their funding renewed. The District of Summerland has benefited from this funding in the past, and in 2018 received $23,000 through CPRA to support the hiring of students in the summer and fall winter. Being that we benefited from the funding in the past, staff are recommending that we provide the letter of support as requested.
Any questions for Ms. Rothery? Okay, anybody would like to, Councillor Van Alphen?
I'd like to put the motion forward.
As in the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Patton. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Carried. All right, item 11.10, 11.10, notice of motion 9918 Canyon View Road. Who would like to introduce that?
That is a motion of Councillor Aaron Carlson.
So it was introduced by
Carlson would like to speak to it.
Okay, thank you.
I would, and I think that we heard first thing in the meeting today that the issue at 9918 Canyon View Road is something that the public have been concerned about for a long time. It's something that council doesn't have information on, that perhaps we should have information on. What I'm suggesting isn't to go out and sue the neighbor, sue the landowner. What I'm suggesting is we find out what's going on, find out what the neighbors are saying, find out what the landowner's story is. We've received an email today, gives lots of good information, but we need to hear both sides of the story and make sure that the information that council gets and that our staff gets is correct, and that we can come to some understanding of what has been done, what could be done if something has been done wrong. I don't know if anything has been done wrong, but I know it's time to have a look and have a conversation, because our job is to bring issues like this forward and to make sure that's it.
Thank you. Any discussion, council? Comments? Councillor Holmes, Councillor Van Alphen after him.
Yeah, just a question through to staff, I guess. If we request information to the ALR, would they provide it to us? What is the process then?
There is actually currently a very large file regarding all the agencies who've been involved in all the actions that the district has been taking on this, and the ALR has been very forthcoming with their information.
So that information could come to council?
Very easily.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Van Alphen.
Thank you. A question through our planning department. Is there any current issues with building permits, stop work orders, any of the above?
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, we're stretching things to its limits tonight. Currently, yes, there are applications that are active on the property, and certainly there are issues that have been dealt with and continue to be monitored, but there is nothing, strictly speaking, in non-compliance that we are aware of. We have certainly tried to address every issue that has come up, and for example, issuance of a building permit post haste to enable the animals to be sheltered last winter was one of the issues where we tried to facilitate a solution to that particular problem. So it's been an ongoing discussion, but not one that triggered a report to council until this point.
Thank you. Any other questions to staff? Councillor Carlson.
There have been a few people that spoke this evening as well that suggested that they have been asking for some answers and haven't received them. I'm wondering if through the process that will hopefully be undertaken, we can determine that the neighbors who have been writing letters have received the answers that they are looking for.
We'll answer and bring to an open meeting as much as we can. Some information is privileged and protected under law, particularly with bylaw complaints. There's very little information we can actually share with the person who submits the complaint. That's simply the law. But in as general terms as are useful to the public and to council, we will be sharing our findings of the actions that the district has taken.
Thank you. I'd like to move the motion as is written in the agenda.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Van Alphen. Thank you. So the agricultural land reserve files, any queries they've had, that's open for freedom of information access and such?
It'll be a record-by-record basis. We will review them all.
All right, that'd be good background. I get inquiries as well, and I have to say I don't know. So this process to gather the facts, just the facts map, would be useful. All in favor? Carried. Okay, information items, bat-friendly Summerland initiative. Who brings this one forward? Oh, over there in the corner, quietly doing her thing, Ms. Rothery.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor. As noted in your package, Council, the Summerland Environmental Sciences Group, in collaboration with the province, is spearheading a bat-friendly Summerland initiative. This initiative includes mapping of known bat species, bat counts, and education and engagement with the community component, and bringing forward recommendations for the incorporation of protection of bat habitat into municipal planning. We're going to be hearing more from the group on the findings of this work and their recommendations in the fall. So staff just wanted to alert council that this was actively happening now, and that we'll be bringing forward more information in the fall.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor
Just
Carlson.
want to let you know that I have 2 bat houses in my backyard, so I will move that motion.
Do you have any residents? Because nobody likes ours.
We think there might be a couple. We're not
Yeah.
totally sure. Our house over on Whitfield used to have lots of them hiding behind the shutters, and so we were able to take a little bit of that bat guano and put it in there, and we think it might have helped.
Councillor Van Alpen, you're seconding the motion?
Absolutely.
All in favor? Well, I should say any more discussion? No? All in favor? Carried. Correspondence. Anything in the correspondence file that anybody would like to bring forward for particular discussion?
Jeremy's pointing right at me.
Councillor Carlson.
Sorry, I forgot this was on here. There's a note here about support for libraries, and I'm on the BC Library Trustees Association Board, which is a provincial board. I'm there as the representative from the Okanagan Regional Library System, and one of the things that they do is advocate for our libraries, including advocating for funding. And so there's a few different groups that work together. They're called the Library Partners, and in 2020 they're requesting the provincial government increase and maintain funding for public libraries at $20 million. And so there's a note here from Don Nettleton, who's the CEO of the Okanagan Regional Library, and the hope that Summerland would put a letter together as well to show the support for increased provincial funding for libraries.
Okay, thank you. How do we see that letter gets written?
I have a draft motion.
All right.
That staff be directed to submit a letter to Summerland's MLA, the Minister of Education, and the Minister of Finance in support of British Columbia Library Trustees Association's $20 million for public libraries in 2020. Call to action for the BC provincial government to address the provincial funding gap for BC public libraries.
So we'll make that item 12.3 on the agenda then, or instead of skipping ahead, because we haven't approved the correspondence yet.
Oh.
Yeah. We'll say, all right.
If I could put that on the floor so we could make that a motion, I don't know if that,
Okay.
or if we want to
We've
wait
got
till
our, okay,
later.
well, the other one hasn't been put on the floor yet, so
Can we do them both together?
we'll do that one and receiving the correspondence together as one big motion. I'd like to bring forward the building stats, they're always interesting.
We'll hold the library one then, until after.
It's all one. Yeah. And I see that our building stats in July are down, but let's hope that's a temporary anomaly.
It was really high last time, right?
Mhm.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah, they used to put them in the paper, is our, no?
He's gone.
All right, so do we have that one big motion put forward by Councillor Carlson?
If it's permissible,
Yeah, we can just include it under correspondence.
Yeah.
It's just part of that matter.
Seconded by Councillor Van Alphen, I see he's engaged. And all in favor? Carried. And we have a 12.3, right?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Worship. Sorry for bringing a late item, very late. That just sort of cropped up literally after this afternoon's meeting. We need some flexibility in being able to fund a consultant to carry on the RFP process. As you know, in the agricultural food hub process, less than 3 weeks ago, Summerland was, the request for qualifications was approved, and we are one of 2, I believe, municipalities have been now asked to submit an RFP. Unfortunately, the submission has to be in within a month. And with part of that submission is also having to locate a proposed location. There's a number of things that makes this a really daunting task. The person that did the RFQ, Jane Compardo, did a great job. I can honestly tell you it would not have been done without her and her expertise and her knowledge of the industry and the work that has taken place previously. However, the RFP is by far the more important part because as part of this process, we really do have to identify who the partners are. And in this process, the provincial government will fund the hub, the project for the first 18 months, I believe, but after that it has to be sustainable and self-sufficient. And so there really has to be a committed partnership on the line. So to try to get us through the next, and I think it's a daunting task. Mr. Haddad and Jane have already been in touch with the province because there could be a second intake in January, which would allow us at least some breathing space, because I think it's really important that council has this, because certainly even the business plan was making a lot of assumptions that I don't recommend that the District of Summerland would be the only partner in this project. It could mean, as terrific as it is, they don't project that this thing's going to make money right away. And so I think you need partners. It's always been about a partnership, and I recall the former CAO saying that our role is to facilitate this, right? To bring the people together, have a society, have a group that then takes on the project. And so we do have funding for, I would say, the more permanent type position that could be funded for a year. What we don't really have funding for and is really the consultant piece in the next. So recommendation I'm bringing forward tonight, Your Worship, is to be able to tap into the Economic Development Fund for up to $20,000. We've already used 13 of that for this particular project. So the fund has been used for this particular project, but it will limit the amount of money council has, something like, potentially $7,000 for the rest. It's a $50,000 a year allocation. That's my ask, that's my recommendation, that to get us to the next stage, that we use that fund. There's also potential that we could use the grant money, the $85,000 that has been approved, but it's a little trickier because that position was intended to be a full-time permanent position with benefits, so there's a job creation element there. So as we speak, we're trying to figure out the best piece, and we're trying not to drop the ball. At some point in time, council may decide to do this or not, but right now we certainly need to be able to either work through the next few weeks and get the RFP done, or at least prepare ourselves to be able to do it in January.
Councillor Carlson.
So just to confirm, the 85,000 you speak of, that's the rural dividend fund for an agricultural component?
Right.
And we couldn't necessarily use that?
We may be able to. Dave's trying to get clarification on just how rigid the requirements are. It's implying that it's a full-time position, but we don't know that. We'd rather be able to use the funds for that, and there was actually two other aspects that we applied to that grant. And so, related to agriculture that this person could do, but we're not sure technically that we can use those funds.
Just to follow then, I wonder if, it's very exciting that we have this opportunity. I'm wondering if we might tell the community about what we're attempting to do, a small-scale processing of, one would assume, fruit and perhaps vegetables is really exciting for a community like ours, and I think that's the way that we're going to be able to find those partners, right? If there's people out there in the middle of some sort of harvest and they're wondering what are they going to do with all of this, maybe there's some people with ideas that would be willing to jump in.
Certainly, Your Worship, that's the next phase. I mean, I obviously I wasn't here for the last 2 years when this was dreamed up by the economic development officer you had and was taken up. There's been 2 studies that are done, so I'm not sure what level of public input. I'm not sure what level of public input has been there, but clearly this is a project that will now need the support of a lot of players, including Okanagan College, and people like that, who've all been a part of it. I mean, the RFQ was quite specific that there was an interest. This is really now tying everyone down as actual partners, and I used to remember that we had a lot of partners at the City of Kelowna, but we liked the ones that came with money too, right? And this is really that situation.
Did you have a question, Councillor?
Nope. So, Your Worship, I'm here tonight because I asked Dave if we could tap into that particular fund, and he said, well, I'd feel more comfortable if you asked council if we could. It's been used for that in the past, but, I'd like council.
I would say that, yes, I think we should, and I think we've come so far in this process that the last little push to see if we might actually get approval and funding to do something really neat it's worth following through. So that last bit of funding from the Economic Development Fund would be the motion I would put forward.
So can you summarize for me,
Sure.
how much and what's...
Your worship, what I'd like to do is have permission from council to allocate up to $20,000 of that particular fund to allocate for a consultant to finalize the RFP, with the understanding that we may be able to tap into the broader fund and not use this. So I only need to use this if we can't tap the other fund or find out about it in time. So it's really $20,000 out of the Economic Development Fund, of which there was 50 allocated at the beginning of the year, and we've already used 13,500 from.
So have you prepared a motion there, corporate officer?
I made it up as he was talking. Let's see how this goes. That staff be directed to reallocate up to $25,000 from the Economic Development Fund to contract the next step.
20.
20? I was trying to get an extra 5
Just
for you.
an extra 5 in there for you.
150,000 now. Directed to reallocate, we need to reallocate, allocate. Staff be directed to allocate up to $20,000 from the Economic Development Fund to contract the next step of the Ministry of Agriculture grant program for the Ag Innovation Center initiative.
Great. We have a... You
I'll
make a
move that,
motion? You move it?
absolutely.
And a seconder? Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Oh, you got discussion.
I just think that we should really make the push to get it in this round and not, hope that the window will be open again in January. I think we've got this opportunity. We're one of 2 or 3 that have been asked to submit. I think it wouldn't look great if we put it off to January. I think we should really make that push to get it in now.
Anybody? Call the
Just-
Councillor
Just a quick question, do we have a meeting with the Minister of Agriculture, EBCM?
Yes, we do.
So assume that the deadline for this is prior to, I mean, that's a month and a bit from now, month and a half.
Yeah,
Anyways,
the
I just-
the deadline
if-
is
if
first
it's-
week of September or something in that.
Well, I would suggest whether we get it in or not, we make sure that she's aware that we're working very hard towards this.
Okay. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you, Worship.
Councillor reports. Let's go there and around the table. Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Worship. I don't have a report, but I would like to thank council for their support with the KVR.
Great. Councillor Trainer.
I don't have a report either, but considering this is Ron's last meeting, thank you for helping us over the last couple months. I've really enjoyed working with you.
Can you report on the Caslo Town Hall?
Playgrounds?
Cool.
Yeah.
I would report that I visited the Carlson Cherry Processing Factory and reminded me just how big agriculture is in our community. Yeah.
I'm going to see the cherries at the Carlsons as well. Friday there, all of this. I had a brief discussion with Mayor Boot regarding how we report out about RDOS to all of council, and we kind of what we thought would be a better approach than just she and I just talking about these things in our council report is that I'll do probably a monthly written report, which will then could just go on the agenda in the correspondence thing like normal, so we can all read it rather than waste time during my council reports to it. And if anybody has any questions, then we can answer it. So that's kind of the approach that we decided might work better. We'll try it anyway. So moving forward, that's what we'll do. Tomorrow, I just want to say I'm going to Vancouver with Councillor Julius Bloomfield from Penticton and Jim Beattie from First Things First Okanagan. We're going to the Climate Caucus Forum, I think they're calling it. And it is, I talked about the Climate Caucus when I came back from FCM, that's kind of where I got its start, but it's a network of councillors and mayors from across the country. who are talking about what we can do together to fight climate change at the local level. And so what's happening in Vancouver tomorrow is it's at Vancouver City Hall, being hosted by the City of Vancouver. There will be a number of groups, delegates from different nonprofits and different organizations. They'll be presenting different projects and ideas to the councillors who are present. It'll be online as well. Anybody can log into it and participate that way. And we'll be voting on 6 different projects which we think that we can all get behind and support. So that'll be an interesting day. I'll report back on that next when I come back. And just one other thing I wanted to bring forward a notice of motion for next meeting. I would like to bring a motion forward that the District of Summerland sign the United Nations Statement of Solidarity with Refugees. And I'll bring that, if I can bring that forward at our next meeting, I can talk about it then. And finally, again, I'd like to just thank our interim outgoing CAO. I'm not wearing a tie today. This is in his honor. This is a one-off. The tie will be back because we got to keep the standards up around here.
Your Worship, I should point out that having worked 22 years in Kelowna, they have a bylaw that after the May long weekend, they cut your tie off. So I thought you had a similar one.
I don't have anything to report tonight, so.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Okay, so the next item is adjournment.
Public comment?
Oh, any media? Not at this time, I guess. All right. All in favor of adjournment? I see. It's unanimous. Ron, are you going to do